I mean, I would like to say I'm really good. In medicine, there's a lot of barriers.
Physicians are hard to relate to.
You'll catch me in an MLB 10 years later. Whatever situation you're in, you have to adapt to it. I don't want to lose that. You know, when you're able to gain that trust and be who you are, be a human.
Realizing that you have that kind of skill. Welcome to Casual Conversations. I'm your host, Lawrence, and I have here.
What's going on? My name is Sam.
Yeah, it's really great to have you on the podcast, Sam.
No, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I remember when I met you, I think early on when I first came to med school, you were like a really solid, chill guy. And I was like, dang, I really need to, get to know this person. And so I do remember me and you during basketball, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And
Yes,
so
sir.
that's one of the things that you are really good at.
I mean, I would like to say I'm really good, and I will tell everyone I'm really good.
Yeah.
But it's something that's really fun. One thing about basketball, especially in the medical field, that I like is just the community. You know, there's in medicine, there's a lot of barriers and
Right.
there's a lot of separation, and it's very easy to isolate yourself and kind of neglect your friends, family, and things like that. But you know, basketball is something that forces you to be together and be with your friends. So I
Yeah,
love
and
it.
and so what I like about what you just said is that it's really important that you find things within medicine that you can enjoy, especially because this path is very long.
Yep.
Finding things you can enjoy and people that you can enjoy it with. And so whenever I see someone who has talents and skills, I really want to get to know them and just understand who they are and their story. Right. So Sam, tell me a little bit about yourself before you came to med school, the type of person that you were, and how different it is from who you are sitting right now.
All right, so it sounds like an interview question.
No, no. Yeah,
No,
it's just anything, yeah.
no, I know. I'm a fourth year now and doing my interview. So just finished it up. So about to graduate, about to
Mhm.
move on. So it's just funny hearing that because it feels like like
Yeah,
what the interviewers are asking me.
right.
But long story short, I'm from the Bronx, uh, born and raised. And if you had have asked me in high school what I was gonna do in life, I would have told you you'll catch me in an MLB 10 years later. Medicine on my wasn't even on my radar,
Mhm.
none of that. Um, but unfortunately, at the time, was it third year of high school? Got hit by a car, had to change routes. Kind of ended my sports career there, and you know, ki- medicine is kind of what came up. I had really good treatment in the hospital, and that's kind of where that spark came from.
Mhm.
So it was from there. I graduated, went to college, and I kind of just pursued medicine ever since. Um, but the person that I was back then was very. I didn't care about anything. I was like, schools, whatever.
Mhm.
Almost dropped out of high school, and like grades horrendous. um, but now, as I came up, you know, you really got to realize that whatever situation you're in, you have to adapt to it. And I think I've been really lucky enough to be able to adapt. And now, being the person that I am now, you know, I learned to accept and be happy with the little things
Mhm.
because anything can change in an instant. And I'm just grateful for everything that kind of comes my way. And I definitely was not like that before. So.
Yeah. I can echo that, honestly.
Mhm.
I think it's really important, especially as, we've moved further on in his career, just like those humble beginnings. I would say the type of person that I was always academically inclined, but I always felt that for me, I always wanted to be a person that anyone could talk to, anyone could be able to approach me. And I felt like I kind of lead that within my journey in medicine where I just see myself as a normal person. I don't think
There
I'm
you go.
anything special. I feel like I'm just a normal person. I do like science. I do like helping people and I want to be able to extend that to as many people as possible. And so within medicine, my 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 main thing is to not stick myself, not isolate myself into a professional bubble, right?
Hmm.
And what that means is if I'm only talking to people who are in med school, I feel like I'm missing out on so many cool people that there are within the environment that I'm in, right? And so I feel like doing stuff like this, being able to have normal conversations with people, especially in medicine, is to showcase that we're just normal people. We have things that we like to do, things that we're talented in. And, just to be able to express that and showcase that to the world. because sometimes physicians are hard to relate to outside of just being in the hospital, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm a regular person, honestly. So,
No, and you know what? I like that because, like you said, it can be very hard to relate to someone who kind of dedicates their life to one thing.
mhm,
And I think that's kind of how it's been historically, especially with doctors, where you kind of have to dedicate your entire life, every second, every minute, to figuring out how you can be a better version of you
mhm,
in the field of medicine. And at the end of the day, like a lot of people kind of lose their humanity when they do that,
yeah,
and they become unrelatable,
mhm,
and um it, like I've tried also to like kind of be not a normal person personally. I like being outgoing
mhm.
um and I like being a star sometimes, not gonna lie.
Oh, okay.
um but I think that's something that's kind of who I am, and I don't want to lose that,
Mhm,
right? And one thing that I've noticed, especially over like my last couple years here at AMC, is that like when you don't lose your humanity, it shows in patient care.
mhm,
Um, and you know, kind of echoing what you said, I'm also not the brightest of the bunch, but my patients will love me, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And when you have patients that like really trust you, and you're able to like build that trust really quick, like they then want your help.
right,
And a lot of backlash that medicine gets nowadays is they don't trust doctors and things like that, and you know then they don't want the help, and it becomes like a whole cycle. But when you're able to like gain that trust and be who you are, be a human,
mhm,
it goes a long way.
yeah. Exactly what you said. It really resonates with me because Black men, we don't necessarily seek healthcare as often as we should, especially compared to Black women and just our counterparts in society. And so,
Hispanic also, I echo that.
and so, like, it's really important that they can see someone who they could really relate to, who can speak to them, and just ensure that they know that healthcare is for them and it's something obtainable and something that they shouldn't be reluctant to seek. And I think during my time in med school, I realized, grades are really important just to
Mhm.
develop a level of competency, right? And I think as you move further along within your academic journey, especially getting fourth year, you develop the level of competency that I think I would trust you with patients and even like my family and stuff like that. Especially like once you go into residency, you're learning more on the job. And
Mhm.
so it's I think after a certain point, grades aren't really the defining factor of how good of a physician you're going to be, right?
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
who you are as an individual, what you value, the types of impact that you want to make on your patients is really important. And so I'm glad that you're able to like, experience that and realize that these are the things that you value and this
Yeah.
is what you could bring to the table when it comes to who you are as a future physician.
Yeah, no, absolutely. um and, it's tough because like you said, like grades are very important, and but the issue is that's just a baseline.
Right.
um and I think not where a lot of people go wrong, because obviously anyone wants a doctor that's like really smart. um but at the end of the day, grades are only a certain aspect,
Hmm.
and during your residency and everything, like you're training for the it's on job training,
Right.
which you're not going to be able to get elsewhere, right? So like when you so the way I see it is like medical school, you know, that's when you're there to learn. Residency, you're there to train, obviously. But medical school is where you begin to like build habits
Hmm.
that are going to get you farther in life,
Yeah.
right? And where I think a lot of people tend to skew from that is they develop habits that are only going to better their grades,
Hmm.
um, and make them look smarter on paper, right? And I think a lot of that can like send some backlash, especially during season, where the grades are going to get you the interview, but that so the grades open the door for you, but they're not letting you into the door, and that's where the interview part really sticks out, where
Hmm.
you know people are interviewing you because they want to know, can I work with this person,
Right.
right? And when you like kind of like lose who you are in medical school just because you want to become the best of the best of the best. And, you know, you like take people down with you, and, you create like this like negative environment. It shows in interviews too.
Mm.
Even if it's just a quick 5-10 minute interview, some people can see right through it. And when you're just like your honest self, and it goes a long way.
Yeah. So we're gonna expand from that, but something that I kind of take with my interactions with my peers is that what I like to do is ask them how they're doing, how's life outside of like school, because it's really important that you try to find that balance outside of school. But
Hmm.
sometimes people aren't able to because academics is a lot and it could kind of consume your life. And so, with the sentiment of how people can only focus on grades and how that could be seen on interviews, I sometimes feel like when people ask how studying going, I feel it's sort of
The
like,
horror question.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes I feel like it's disingenuous if you're gonna ask me how's studying going, but then you're not gonna help me study better, like then why are you asking me, right? And so
Yeah.
sometimes like I think it's important when you're trying to, come to your peers and ask them how things are going. And like let's say most people don't want to say, dang, I'm really doing badly, I'm struggling, and
Right.
they kind of keep that to themselves. But let's say a peer does say that, like, what's going to happen next? Are they going to actually put in the effort to try to help them? Because I know like people's learning styles are differently, and it's something that I had to figure out, and it's always adapting.
Hmm.
But I feel like for me, if I'm going to approach somebody, I want to show them like what I do and how I could possibly help them. And sometimes it's not really given out like that. It's usually, oh, these are the resources that I use. But like, how do you do it? How do you effectively utilize those resources? And
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, you know, I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Mm,
Because, you know, on one hand, it can be it's just you checking up on someone, right?
yeah.
This is at the end of the day, a big chunk of our lives is medicine. And when you're trying to relate to someone, you're going to relate through medicine,
Yeah.
right? So when you're asking someone like, "Oh, how's it going? How's studying going?" You know, that's one way to relate to someone. But unfortunately, this is also a very competitive field.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people, like you said, don't want to admit that they're not doing as well because, you don't want someone looking down on you.
Hmm.
And I think that's just the nature of the beast. But it's something where when you find your people and you have this camaraderie, that you allow yourself to open up, and like you go, hey, like honestly, I'm not doing too hot,
Yeah.
right? Maybe I got 30% straight on 3 blocks of U World, and I'm feeling pretty down. Um, you know, but you also, on the other hand, you also don't want to just be upfront like, oh, here's what I'm doing, because it can come off as I'm doing better than you, so you should
Right.
do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, but you also want to try to keep the other person in mind. And it's a very tough situation. Um, but you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable sometimes,
Hmm.
right? And sometimes just offering an open ear can work wonders.
Yeah.
Um, so like if in that situation, like I said, it can be hard, and you kind of have to read the room a lot. But it's a lot of it can just be listening. And I think accepting that not everyone is out to get you,
Hmm. Yeah. Sure.
um, which can be hard.
Yeah.
It's not an
Yeah.
easy thing to do, but at the end of the day, you need trust,
Hmm.
and without trust, you're gonna be isolated and alone, and that's gonna bring you down in other ways that you normally wouldn't want or expect.
Hmm. So a lot of this is like doing hard things and putting yourself in environments that may seem a little foreign, right? Seeing you right now with the headphones and mic in front of your face, you probably have experience, right, doing music or like being able to, do things that use your vocals, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I know like before I've seen you do stuff that was pretty hard for me, just getting on stage and being in front of an audience and like either rapping or singing. So
Mhm.
I want to hear a little bit about that. Like, how did you even start like getting into making music and just realizing that you have that kind of skill?
um, well, I think growing up in New York City, like music just always been a big part of our life.
Mhm.
Growing up, Jay-Z, Jadakiss, even Eminem, like, you grow up with all these rappers and it's kind of like this ideal, like, I kind of want to do that,
Yeah.
Like, that seems really cool. Um, so I think personally, I think everyone from New York City is always like, I could write something. I
Yeah.
could do that. I could, you know, and I love that. I love that aspect. But I've also always kind of enjoyed the arts.
Mhm.
Um, whether it's just paintings or someone singing, someone dancing. I think it's this creative world where, it's like true expression.
Mhm.
And, I think words can be divulged a lot to mean certain things or interpreted certain ways. But there's something about like someone's art and dancing where yes, it can be interpreted in different ways,
Right.
but it's usually interpreted like beautifully. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where it all started from. Um and originally it started where, I was kind of like rapping about my life.
Mhm.
Uh, like this is what I've been through, da da da. But it's kind of evolved over time.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately I'm not able to do it as much anymore.
Right.
But I think one thing that's really cool is like just being able to go on stage is it kind of brings people together, right? So,
Yeah.
and as I said before, I kind of like being the center of attention sometimes, not gonna lie.
Mhm.
But it's cool when I'm up there on stage and I see all these people gathering and, not necessarily for me, but they're gathering together. And it's like, wow, like this is when you go to the library to study, you don't see people gathering in this way.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just like a really nice environment. And like I said, it's still a form of expression, and I'm able to express myself in certain ways, kind of showcase my talents, and hopefully give other people like a gateway to say, I used to play the violin.
Yeah.
This person is getting up, rapping. That's hard to do. I should go play the violin again, or whatever it is. I should go dancing again. And I think if we can allow that to be more accepted in
Mhm.
medical school, I think it's gonna go a long way.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something that someone else said previously where if someone sees you doing something that they've always wanted to do, it kind of ignites that desire to get back into it. So
Mhm.
some people within medicine, they kind of put off their hobbies with like creation or just some form of artistic expression. But when they see another medical student who's able to, continue to do that while
Mhm.
in school, it kind of has them thinking, wait, maybe I can actually do this again? And so
Yep.
yeah, it's always great to see you like being able to express yourself and doing those things that you love. And I do see like on social media some physicians who do have passions and they continue to carry that through
Mhm.
their residency and things of that nature because you don't necessarily know who's watching, right? And it could be an
True.
opportunity to put yourself in different rooms that medicine may have not been able to allow you. And so I think whenever you do have time, definitely continue to like dabble in it and everything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I hope everyone does,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day, medical school does take up a lot of the time, but it doesn't take up all your time.
Yeah.
And, you know, take time to rest and, study, of course, but also don't forget who you are and what makes you happy.
Right.
Because when you're down and out, getting stuff in your brain is hard.
Yeah.
But when you're like happy with life and where you are, and it becomes a lot easier to study and retain and
Mhm.
you know apply that forward.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes I look on the internet and I see people who freestyle, right? Back in the day, were you able to like do stuff like that?
nah, I wish.
Oh, okay, okay. No, because I was gonna ask you, like, what's the thought process of someone who could freestyle? Because the way it just comes out, I'm just like, dang, I
I
wish I had that skill.
I really wish I had that skill
Yeah,
too. I think it's incredible how people
yeah,
can like put words together on the fly and make it so that it makes sense and it
yeah,
sounds good. I think too much.
yeah, yeah,
I have to like sit there and think about what I'm gonna say. But I also enjoy the process of creation, so
yeah,
I'm okay with not being able to freestyle.
yeah. Something that I appreciate about you is that you can understand that there are certain aspects that you want to share with the world, and you want people to like
Mhm.
see you for. Sort of like there's attention that you really want at times, right? And so, how do you think, as a physician, that you could possibly garner that kind of attention to, speak to people who you want to speak to, or share your opinions to the people that you want to?
Well, I think that's a big part of that comes from just going to a like what draws you, right? Like
Mhm,
what you enjoy doing. For example, like mine's is basketball, right? When I go to I like ran the basketball club for the last couple years. And when I go to this environment, this is outside of medicine. So it's medicine outside of medicine.
mhm,
And, these are people that you already relate to, but now you're in a setting where you can relate to them elsewhere. Right. And when you're able to do that, and it like kind of breaks down these barriers that people naturally have set up
right,
because of the competitive field of medicine. Um, so when you're in an environment, or put yourself in an environment where, people are doing what they enjoy, they allow themselves to be more vulnerable.
mhm,
And when you're more vulnerable, you allow yourself to make friends, you allow yourself to make bonds. And it's harder to do that in a library setting
yeah,
with people on guard and studying and trying to protect their grades. And they're like, don't worry about me, I'm good, I'm on top with you guys, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And so when you allow yourself to do the things you love and put yourself in those settings, it opens doors for friends and bond. So
Yeah, I'm glad that you say that because there was a video I put out on Instagram, and every time I open the app, I get some notification because of the video. And basically, what
yeah.
I talked about was that within medical school, the expectation that you would make solid friends, but then it doesn't turn out that way. And I felt like a lot of medical students internationally or just around the world resonated with that
Mhm.
because sometimes medical school doesn't build the culture where you can develop the best friendships because so many people are studying. I feel like you can only develop a solid friendship based on what you do outside of school. Because
Mhm.
once school ends, if that's the only foundation that you have for the relationship, then that relationship ends. And but that's not a takeaway from every friendship. Every friendship sort of serves a purpose, and
Mhm.
sometimes some friendships they don't really go that deep. But it doesn't take away from that relationship. But how have you like I noticed like basketball and doing things of that nature has allowed you to make those relationships. So what would you say to someone who's trying to they're like in med school and they're trying to make relationships with people, but they realize sometimes maybe the only thing that's connecting them to their peers is just med school. They want to do something else outside of that. So how would you what would you say to someone who's trying to make friends outside of med school?
I mean, the best thing I think you can do is just be open-minded,
Hmm.
right? Be okay with trying new things that you've never thought about trying,
Yeah.
right? For example, like coming from New York City, winter sports are like not a thing for us.
Hmm.
It's a lot of basketball, baseball, football, things like that. But like snowboarding, never. Ice skating, I mean, you do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you're now being upstate, like that's a more common thing. And if you're not willing to try that, you're not allowing yourself to, you know, make friends and stuff outside of medicine,
Hmm.
right? And you know, there's a lot of people that they'll go to the library to study, they'll take a quick walking break, they'll go home and study, and you have to give yourself like free space to, like I'm not gonna study when I'm here,
Right.
right? Whether that's at home, whether that's, making time with friends where you don't talk about medicine
Mhm,
because medicine comes up all the time, even with friends.
mhm,
It's just natural. It's just gonna happen. But you have to be able to be in these spaces where it's not all about studying,
yeah,
and you have to allow yourself to be open to trying new things, right? Because unless you're like, for example, from New York City and go to medical school in New York City,
mhm,
you're going to be put in an environment where you're not used to,
yeah,
and you're going to be around people that you're also not used to, right? Like, for example, Albany Med has a lot of California people, and I've never been to California. I don't really know what they're like. For example, I've never played volleyball before,
mhm,
but I became friends with people who from California, where it's a much bigger sport,
yeah,
and now I love volleyball. Now I play. I play every season,
Yeah.
you know, and I've met so many people through basketball, through volleyball, through music,
Mhm.
uh, or even just like, I like dancing, so I try to gather people to dance, right? So I invite people, they invite their friends, you make friends like that, and you know, you're I allow myself to be in these environments where I'm capable of making friendships,
Yeah.
right? Um, like you can make friends in the library while studying, but it's also a business there, and you're there to study. You're not really there to make friends, so it's a lot harder. So I would say, long story short, allow yourself to be in uncomfortable environments where they're new to you,
Mhm.
and they're where other people enjoy, but also vice versa. Like invite people to your things that you enjoy, and
Mm.
hopefully they do.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I feel like in order to have those sustainable relationships, you have to intentionally choose to make time for it. You have to intentionally choose to want to hang out with these people, right?
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
absolutely.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I did notice like a lot more Californians are at the school, and but then there are like people from programs and stuff like that. So
Yep, yep,
those relationships are there too. So
yep.
yeah, I think within medicine, there's so many opportunities, as long as you make it, so many opportunities to like find connections outside of just this is the career that we chose.
Yep.
Because I was talking to a friend Talia, and like she's very talented. And I think a part of what I've experienced in medicine is that if there are people who have talent and skills,
Mhm.
I want to get to know them, right?
Yeah.
I want to see who they are, if they make music, if they write songs, if they produce videos and everything like that.
Yep.
I think that's really cool. And so some things that I want to do is connect medicine with creativity.
Mhm.
So medicine meets creatives. That's sort of like what I do
I love
nowadays.
that.
Yeah.
Talk to me nice.
Yeah. So it's really fun venture to do, and I truly do enjoy it.
Yeah. And I mean, there are also people who are like you where they enjoy the creativity.
Hmm.
They enjoy whether it's videography, dancing, singing, drums, guitar, violin, anything. There are people out there that are like that, and everyone was a person before they got accepted into medical school.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when you had more free time, like what were you doing? And a lot of the times they were doing stuff they enjoyed, right? So, yeah, I think it's always best for your own sanity to not lose that when you come into med school.
Yeah.
And when you don't lose that and you keep up with it, you make friends along the way. And in those scenarios, it's a lot less competitive, right? If it's a Friday night and we're going salsa dancing, bachata dancing,
Mhm.
I'm not competing with you,
Yeah.
right? I'm here to just dance.
Yeah.
Or if you've never been, I'll teach you.
Mhm.
I'm teaching you how to dance. A quick 1, 2, 3 step, 1, 2, 3 step. And
I've actually tried to learn bachata. I watched a whole YouTube video to learn it
there
and
you go.
everything. Yeah, and it was pretty nice. I don't think I would do it in front of a bunch of people, but yeah, yeah, I've tried it, and it's really the culture, Latin culture, is so beautiful. Yeah, yeah,
I completely agree.
yeah,
But it's like you said, you probably wouldn't do it in front of a bunch of people, but if you allow yourself to do it, who knows? You
yeah,
might
yeah.
you might enjoy it a lot more than you think. Um, I've definitely have taken many friends that have never really gone,
Mhm.
and I take them. We go dancing. I teach them, and they're asking me, "Oh, when are we going back?"
Oh,
You
okay.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just because it's a fun time and it's away from the stress.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I guess it can bring stress if you're like you have stage fright and things like that, but it's still a different scenario, and it's where people are going to have fun. The aim is to have fun,
Mhm.
where the aim is not to like study and be a better version of me. It's just to have fun. So
Yeah, I think part of it is things that I want to do that will get me outside of my comfort zone. Definitely dancing, especially like dancing in front of people.
there you go.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
then going to karaoke because for some reason I hate trying to have to sing in front of people. It's so nerve wracking. So that's something that those are two things that I'm gonna put effort into like doing. Uh,
There you go. It's karaoke is like a big culture at Albany Med. So
oh really?
yeah, people love it.
Okay, okay, yeah. That's what I need to try because sometimes like after exams, um, people will go out, and it's usually at pubs and stuff like that. And I,
Yeah,
I don't drink, so I don't typically go out to do that.
fair.
But I think one of the recommendations that I've been told is like, still put yourself in those environments. You don't have to drink, but if you want to like meet people in a social environment where they're a little bit more laid back and
Mhm.
not studying, I guess I'll like have to put in the effort to, go and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that goes back to where what I had stated before, right? If you don't like that environment, you don't have to be in that environment. But
Okay.
there are going to be people who are more laid back when, you know, they're doing videography.
Yeah.
So and that's, that can be like your group of people. Um, or, you know, people do karaoke elsewhere where that doesn't involve drinking, right? Some
Hmm.
people do it at their house, right? And if you have like a tertiary friend as like, oh, like, Lawrence, come out, we're doing karaoke at my friend's house,
Yeah.
why not say yeah,
Yeah.
for see how it is. And that's a more laid back environment where now you, without even trying, you made three more friends,
Right.
you know or at least started something that now if you see them in the library you can catch up a little bit in
Hmm.
between studying,
Yeah.
or they'll come up to you, right? Like I come up to you in the library, I say, hey, what's up, like I chat with you a little bit,
Yeah.
and from before I only knew you as the guy who held around the camera, but now I'm here talking with you on a podcast
Yeah.
about like more personal stuff, and you know that's just one example, but it can go, it goes here, there, and exponentially. Now you're making way more friends.
Yeah. It's true. All right. So before you start residency, what are you trying to do? Like, what vacations are you trying to take if you have time? Is there something that you have on your bucket list before starting?
uh so before I started med school, which was unfortunate because it was during COVID,
Mm.
my plan was I wanted to do a Japan and Australia trip.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's gonna happen still, but at the time I had the money and I wanted to do it. But unfortunately, those two countries had like the strictest
Oh,
COVID laws.
yeah.
So I wasn't able to do it. But that's definitely on a bucket list though. Um, I don't think I'll be able to like do any big trip like that right now.
Mhm.
Um, so right now I'm kind of just like enjoying life, and my biggest thing is I want to develop like really good habits that I will be able to carry on to residency where
Right.
I don't have to think about it. It's just part of my routine at that point. So that's like the main thing I want to do right now while I have the time, even though I've been sleeping more.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
No, sleep is definitely important. I've been sleeping less, but it's not
yeah.
even like I'm too busy. I'm just like not controlling my sleep schedule.
Yeah. Nah, sleep's important, but it'd be hard to get sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, but that's probably the biggest thing that I'm trying to do before residency. But also, like I'm a big anime head, so I'm trying to
Mhm.
like finally catch up on all my animes that I've been meaning to
Yeah.
catch up on. Still trying to hit like my weight goal.
Mhm.
So, I've been upping up the amount of times I play basketball,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna say eating better, but like being more conscious, like, damn, I just ate that. Maybe I won't eat the second cookie, kind of thing. And slowly but surely it'll fall all into place. But those are the things that I'm trying to do. See family a little bit more.
Mhm.
My family's back near the city, so I don't see them as often as I would like.
Mhm.
So little things like that that I've been working on.
Okay. So what's the big three animes? This is gonna
I
be
mean,
posted. So what's the big three animes?
that's the make or break. I mean, I will always die on the Naruto hill.
Okay.
But that was like my first anime. I'm gonna always die there.
Mhm.
Uh, I really enjoy Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
Uh, I'm praying they bring it back soon because I really want the anime to be done. Uh, I'm sad where it left off, but that's probably my second one. And I guess, damn, the third one is kind of rough, but honestly, I guess I have to say probably Demon Slayer. I mean,
Okay.
I know it's a newer one and it's like it's the mainstream one, but it is a beautiful show,
Right.
and that second season has my heart. So I'd say those off the top of my head. I'm sure if I thought about it more,
Yeah.
maybe that third one wouldn't be there, but definitely Naruto and Hunter x Hunter are like one and two.
Okay. I feel like people are gonna, they're gonna have other things to say about it, but
We can battle.
but no, no, I actually haven't seen Hunter x Hunter or Demon Slayer. I've seen like an episode here or there, but
Yeah.
I've never actually watched the entire season.
Mm,
And so that's something that I actually wanted to start doing too. Cause like back in the day, maybe like in elementary school, middle school, I used to watch like those old school animes.
yep.
For
Like Yu
when I
Yu
was
Hakusho,
no, that
Inuyasha.
was like my brother. He liked those.
Ah.
I I used to watch the romantic comedy ones,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
like the ones at the school and stuff like that.
Yep.
Because I was like, it was interesting when I was younger growing up. But
Yep.
then like Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Bleach. I think those are really solid. I've
Yep.
never seen One Piece. Honestly, I don't even think I'm gonna watch it.
I'm right with you. I'm not gonna watch it. Why is it still going?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why is it still going?
Yeah.
In a vacuum, I would love to watch it. I hear
Yeah.
amazing things about it,
Mhm.
but if I could watch 10 other animes before halfway through that one,
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch the 10 other animes.
Yeah, yeah. Have you even seen like Fairy Tale? That was one that
Fairy Tail's
I
good, yeah.
seen. Yeah, it was a pretty solid one too. So yeah, I think for me, like definitely catching up on some shows because with med school, I haven't really been watching any series or
Yeah.
I have a freaking TV here that doesn't get touched. So yeah, it's something that I need to like put the effort in and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing too I like about anime is they're only 20 minutes, right? So
Oh yeah, true.
if you need a quick break, just go watch an episode.
Yeah, I feel like YouTube and my iPad
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
taking up
I'm a
most of
big
my
YouTube
time.
head too.
Yeah.
I'm always watching like animal videos. I'm a
Mhm.
big Pokemon guy. Like
Okay. Yeah.
I like play it a lot and I watch a lot of videos on it.
Yeah.
So I get that. YouTube, you just like you're eating on
Yeah.
your break, you just like watching something mindless and
I don't, I feel like since COVID or because of TikTok, my attention span has completely declined where I could watch a cat video and it'll be just so entertaining. Like
cats are entertaining.
just like these animal videos are so funny. So I'm like, dang, maybe I even might want to get a pet one day. I think that's interesting.
I mean, a pet a pet keeps you grounded, I would
Mhm.
say. I have two pets at home right now. They're not mine.
Oh, in Albany?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
they're not mine though,
Yeah.
but I it's just nice. Like sometimes the cat will come and like bump his head against mine
Mhm.
and like purr, and I'll be like, "Damn, that was cute."
Yeah.
you know, um, I think a pet is nice. It keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
And when you do feel alone and stuff, like it's like impossible because you have a pet.
Oh,
How
yeah.
can you feel alone when you have
Yeah.
a cat looking at you or sitting on your lap? So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I feel like it's gonna be expensive though, but you know, it,
Yeah,
it'll be nice. It'll be a nice investment.
that's true. I mean, medicine's about sacrifice, right? So
Yeah.
if you got to sacrifice a meal to get your cat food, I mean, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. I feel you on
Yeah.
that.
But actually, one thing that I thought was pretty funny is so my favorite animal, I think I said a little earlier, is the kangaroo.
Mhm.
And I tend to watch like a lot of kangaroo videos. It actually came up in one of my interviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had, what was the question? The question was like, teach me about anything.
Mhm.
And I applied PM&R. So, like musculoskeletal, like
Mhm.
physical rehab. Um, and my answer was kind of like the physics behind a kangaroo's movements.
Okay.
And that was just something that I enjoyed. I thought it was a fun fact, and it like worked perfectly for that interview question.
Yeah.
And I I walked away with like, yeah, I did that. I
Yeah.
was like, that's a great answer.
Yeah. I like interviews where they put you in a situation where you could just talk about anything that you really enjoy
Yeah.
that isn't medically related. I remember when I was interviewing for med school,
Uh huh.
once I told them that I did stuff like this, video stuff, that's pretty much how the interview just went. And so we'll talk about like research a little bit here, but then
Yeah.
they'll be so fascinated about how do you make videos, how do you do all these
Yeah.
things, and the attention that you can get from it. And so I enjoy interviewers who can kind of push towards what would be interesting to talk about for you.
Yeah. And I think that's like where a lot of people feel like or go wrong or with the idea of interviews,
Mhm,
right? So like I said before, your grades are what get you the interview. They open that door, but the interview is what lets you into the door.
mhm.
And at the end of the day, the person on the other side, they just want to get to know you and, you know, like, can I work with this person?
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm in, for example, I'm interviewing someone for medical school, I'm looking out for like, oh, can I go talk to this person in the library,
Right.
right? Or is there something I can relate to? And if I can't, are they like, am I able to talk to them? You know, so I think that's something to keep in mind with interviews. It's like, like you said, like they have their setup questions in
Mhm.
case, because you or else people would just be sitting there looking at each other like, what can I talk about? I don't know. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
So they have those questions that like kind of set it up, but you know, they're really there to get to know you.
Yeah.
So
You mentioned applying PM&R.
yeah,
So that's like at the top of my list for specialties that I want to
there you
go
go.
into. So PM&R or anesthesia. And I wanted to like know a little bit about PM&R during your experience. Like when did you first realize that that's what you wanted to go into, and how did you prepare yourself for like getting those kinds of interviews?
Yeah, so uh here at Albany Med, there isn't like a dedicated third-year rotation
Mhm,
for PM&R. So I was pretty lucky in the sense that it's part of your neurology rotation,
mhm,
and it's kind of like hit or miss if you'll even get like a day or half a day on PM&R rotation. So I was lucky to get half a day, and I was talking with the attending about kind of like more about what they do. Um, and you know, with my sports background, I've always been interested you know, in like movement disorders,
mhm.
things of that nature. And even with my experience with rehab, so after my car accident, I had to go through rehab. Um, so I was able to relate to it really well, which I enjoyed. But also I one thing I like about it is you get to work with people that like show that they want to get better, right?
Mhm.
So when you deal, you know, every part of medicine is important, and obviously no one person is going to say I don't want to feel well, like I want to be sick, right? But when you're dealing with things like hypertension and diabetes, these silent killers that it can be easy to forget about it, neglect it unintentionally, and you know kind of go about your day. And you know, so it's not that people don't want to get better, but it's easy to neglect. Whereas
Mhm.
when you're dealing with physical disabilities, that is affecting your second to second, day by day life,
Right.
right? If you know, if if you had a stroke and you can't use the right side of your body, you're gonna know. Like
Mhm,
you're not gonna forget that you can't pick up a cup anymore, or type the way you want to,
mhm.
brush your teeth, do these things that you took for granted every day. So when people come to rehab, they are motivated to work towards getting better.
Yeah.
And that's something that I really enjoy. I don't know if it's just because I don't know, maybe I feel like a coach. I don't
Yeah.
know. Or no, come on, you could do it. Like you did so well yesterday. Like, don't give up. You
Yeah.
got this.
Mhm.
Um, and I just really enjoy that aspect of it. So, I think it derived from my experience on my neurology rotation.
Mhm.
And when I was really sitting down with what I want to do and the patient population I want to work with, I I sought out my experience with rehab, and I was like, this is where I want to be."
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I I always felt that being able to see your patients improve is something that's also really important to me. There's
Yeah.
some specialties like spine surgery. It's really like the recovery. It could be,
Yeah.
it's one of those
Yeah.
finicky situations sometimes, and you try to do as much as you can to improve your patients' lives. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, I could definitely see why you would want to pick that.
That's the goal of every doctor,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever met a mentor who inspired you and you felt like when I become a physician, I want to be just like you. Like the things that you do, not maybe not even specialty wise, but the type of person that they are and how they speak to people. Have you met that kind of mentor in your path?
Yeah, I would say a few times actually. You know, and not not as much as attendings, but
Yeah.
that's just because, as medical students, you don't spend as much time with
Mhm.
attendings. Um, but a lot of these residents, they're they're not that far off from where we are.
Right.
So a lot of the residents are a lot more relatable than the attendings who are a little farther out, with their career
Mhm.
and things like that. Um, so there are residents that like understand the difficulties that people go through, and they don't allow that to like alter how they treat you, and that's something that I definitely want to take with me. Like once I'm a resident, once I'm attending, like I want to understand. Like I always want to remember that I'm dealing with a person,
Right.
not just this passerby that he's just here to get good grades. She's
Mhm.
just here to look good in front of me. Like no, like granted, like yes, you want you want to get good grades, you want to look good, but you're still a person,
Mhm.
right? Like I want to remember that you're coming in when you're presenting, you're nervous. You know, you have not had as much practice as I had at that point,
Mhm.
you know, and that's something that I feel like I've been lucky enough to experience that residents have been like that with me.
Yeah.
Not all residents, but I would say a good chunk of them. Um, and that's something I want to carry. Don't forget that I'm still dealing with a person who has feelings and
Yeah.
emotions and is not perfect.
Yeah. I can always appreciate that because I know how difficult it is to get to the positions that we're in. And as a future physician myself, I always see myself as an advocate for my patients. And one of the things that's really important, especially looking at the black physician population, there are a lot of, young black boys who fall off the path because of either systemic issues or things just not going well in their favor. And just being a form of representation, a form of a person who could just speak positivity, let them know that they can definitely do this, that
Yep.
medicine is for them. Just a physician who understands how difficult it was. And so why would I want to make it more difficult for someone who's trying to,
Yep.
get to where I am? And yeah, that's why everything that you just said, I completely agree and it resonates with me.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's like you said, it's really important because a lot of people, especially from our background, where we come from, and things like that, they're not exposed to the lifestyle that we're experiencing now very
Yeah.
often. So it can be very easy as a younger kid in that environment to just be like, I can't do that. That's not meant for me. Um, and I think doing stuff like this is really important because it allows like people like that to say like, oh shoot, like he's kind of like me. Like he came where I came. He's from the South Bronx. I could do that.
Yeah.
If I want to be a doctor, I could do it. Um, and it's nice to like like we're sharing like how personable we are and our experiences and things that we do, and it's like you don't have to lose. And that's something that I've know like a lot of people who like in college, they're like, I can't do medicine because I don't want to lose who I am. I don't want to dedicate my whole life to it. And you
Hmm.
do dedicate a big chunk, but you're not dedicating your whole life. You're
Yeah.
still able to do the things you want to do, you know. And I think it's important to like be able to share that. I think it's on us to broadcast that like, you know, medicine is not for everyone,
Hmm.
but don't don't sway or don't like deny yourself the opportunity just because you think you can't
Right.
or you think it's too much. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It is, but it you can do it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's sort of like a day by day because if you see the entire path from the beginning, it's gonna seem very intimidating. Like you're a college student, you see you got to do 8 years. That's just to get to residency, and then like 3, 4, 5 plus years,
Yep.
depending on what specialty. It could be intimidating, honestly. But the
Yep.
reality is that time is never gonna stop. You're gonna get
Yep.
those 10 years. You're gonna be there eventually, right? And
Yeah.
so, if it is
Yep.
something that you want to do, then I think definitely put in that effort. Just take it day by day. and appreciate the process in it of itself.
Yeah.
And two, like let's not lie. People hate their jobs. So so it doesn't
Yep.
really matter if you decided not to go into medicine, you're probably going to hate your job doing something else. But you know, if there's something that you gravitate towards and you want to do it and you feel like you can make an impact on people's lives, then definitely, because the time will go by.
Yep.
Um and it is strenuous, but as long as you have the like the necessary things like exercising, eating healthy that you're going to maintain, I think medicine will be a great aspect to add to your life and not be your entire life.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the way you phrased that was very good. And I think a lot of people know it, but sometimes hearing it from someone in that position, it goes a long way. Um, and can change a lot of perspectives.
Yeah.
Um, right. And like you said, a lot of people unfortunately do hate their jobs
Hmm.
and they go to work just to work, just
Yeah.
to be able to get the paycheck. Um, but you know, if helping people is something that is fulfilling to you,
Hmm.
like this is a career that's really good for it. And one thing to keep in mind too is there is a lot of careers in medicine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a doctor. You know, there's PAs. They they are very well equipped
Hmm.
to manage patients, and they get the right training, and it's still a long career, but there are pros and cons, right? Like yes, they have to still answer to attendings,
Hmm.
but their schooling is a lot less.
Yeah.
And nursing is also an incredible career.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, there's so many different routes that you could do from nursing. You know, getting paid almost as much as an attending as a CRNA,
Hmm.
um, which is amazing. And you know, you're like into anesthesia, you know, with anesthesia, and
Hmm.
you're in these surgeries. You're still like being able to witness, but you're not getting paid as much. But a lot of the burden also isn't on you,
Right.
right? So there's so many different paths in medicine that if you if you if you think that you will feel the reward of helping people,
Hmm.
like don't be swayed from doing medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's an important take as well. Like there's so many different paths that we don't necessarily know. You know, physician, you know, doctor, MD. And so, so many people go straight into that and find how difficult it is. But if your goal is to take care of patients, there are definitely many other avenues that you can
Absolutely.
take. And also different avenues that will provide you more time. So let's see, there are things that you want to do outside of medicine, you might have a little bit more time.
Yeah,
And so let's
absolutely. Yep.
let's shift gears a little bit and talk about how medicine can impact one's life. So there's so much things that we are called to do and how our time is taken up. And before we talked about when it comes to maintaining a relationship, you have to deliberately choose to make that time, right?
Right.
And so how can you see or how can you mitigate, let's say down the line, if you ever want to start a family or like be with someone, how can you maneuver that aspect where medicine calls for your time and it could have a strenuous impact on your relationship? How do you think you could manage that?
Um, that's definitely tough to answer
Mhm.
because everyone has different struggles.
Right.
So I can pretty much only answer from my experience. Unfortunately. So, you know, one of the hardships that I've had is, you know, I help my family a lot, you know,
Yeah.
with finance, like financially. Um, and when it comes to finances, I don't really have many people that I can lean on for that extra couple dollars of like I might not get rent, you know,
Mhm.
my loans are like at the end of them, or like it's like month 6 or something. I'm at the end of my loans,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm like I don't really know how I can get rent. So with me, I've the way I got around that is I I do work in med school,
Mhm.
but I specifically chose jobs that aren't gonna really get in the way
Mhm.
of my studying and things like that. So I'm an Uber driver. I think I'm like Albany's best dog sitter at
Oh,
this point. Yeah. um, but these jobs, right? Like dog sitting, a lot of people they just want someone to make sure their dog's alive,
Mhm.
if they're gone for a few days. And a lot of people do offer their housing. So sometimes I'll go study at their house, so I'm spending time with the dog,
Mhm.
studying and getting paid for it. Or Ubering if I wasn't gonna go home and study anyways, and I just feel lazy. Then I can go drive Uber,
Right.
make a few extra bucks that way, and over time it does add up. So I think that's something that you know you have to understand what your difficulties are,
Mhm.
and you know prioritize studying always, but find different routes that you can mitigate the difficulties,
Yeah.
right? So for example, mine's is finances, but I chose jobs that are very flexible that I can just get up and go,
Mhm.
right? Um, so
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely understandable. Because I saw on social media physicians talk about how strenuous their career has been to their social relationships.
mhm,
And sometimes it's hard for physicians to be honest about how difficult it is because it'll look like they're talking down on their career, right? And they
yeah,
don't want to do that, or they don't want to portray medicine in a negative light. But the honest truth is that some people weren't able to have the family that they wanted.
mhm,
Like I heard a physician talk about that him and his partner, they wanted like more children, but they couldn't because of medicine or not being able to go to specific life once in a lifetime events,
yeah,
And the unfortunate reality is that because medicine takes sacrifice, those sacrifices are going to be some of the most difficult ones to make. And I think that the more people who do speak up about this, because the more people who do speak up about this, I think there's going to be more of a change because we always hear that like, there's a physician shortage of this and that every year, right?
yep,
And a lot of it has to do with politics and maintaining the financial there's so much with it where they limit the number of residency spots, they limit so many things,
yep,
and that doesn't really do justice to the physicians who have life events, the physicians who may be struggling or need to take time away from the career itself. And so I think it's difficult. It's a difficult position that we're going to be in,
yep,
and I think it takes a lot more people like speaking out against this because I don't think I think in order to have a successful physician workforce, the people who are investing their life into it want to feel as though they matter.
right. And I think that's that's a systemic problem that's
Yeah.
been in U.S. healthcare for way too long, and it's not going to get fixed overnight, unfortunately. And but that is something that you just have to be aware of when you're
Hmm.
coming into this field. And I think that's a very good point to something we brought up earlier about the different careers in medicine,
Hmm.
right? So, like, for example, PA, NPs, you know, they tend to have a little bit more of a flexible schedule,
Right.
right? Where, you know, as an attending, you're like overseeing a lot of things, but as a mid-level provider, your that responsibility isn't burdened on your shoulders, so
Hmm.
you have more time for those things,
Yeah.
right? And these are also great careers that pay really well. You're gonna be well off in life,
Hmm.
and you can do those things. So if those things are very very important to you, and those are like you know, I need to be able to be there with my, for the birth of my child, or I need to be there for their first birthday, I need to be there for their graduation. If those things are important to you, then you can still do what you want to do, just in like a slightly different field,
Yeah.
and no matter what you do in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice something,
Yeah.
right? And that's just the unfortunate truth. But you know, how much are you willing to sacrifice? Right? So like if you decide to do an attending job, you might need to sacrifice the birth of your child or their graduation.
Hmm.
Um and that's the unfortunate side of the job. Um but and then there's also different fields in medicine. Like if you want to do family medicine, which is super neglected nowadays. But family medicine providers do have more time to go, you know, see their child graduate and things like that. Um, or there are like other lifestyle medicines that provide that opportunity,
Hmm.
right? But like, if you're a surgeon,
Yeah.
you might need to,
Yeah.
you might need to sacrifice some of those things. Um, but it's also very crucial to have a partner or a friend that understands these things as well.
Mhm.
So, like, try not to settle, I guess, but
Yeah.
you know, make sure your partner does understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, there's so much depth in this career path, and especially the people that you have coming along the way with you for that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so we talked about a lot, and I think a part of our journey is there's so much growth to it, and so many things that we learn where we have so much wisdom that we can bestow upon many different people to make the path easier for them or make the path a little bit more understanding. And so with everything I do is just to showcase how relatable healthcare professionals are. We're human. There are things that we enjoy, things that we don't enjoy. We just like to hang out and have fun. And a part of the learning process is also developing who we are as
Yeah.
individuals. And so we talked about so many great things. And so, is there anything that you would want to leave to somebody, maybe even leave for your younger self, someone who might be in this position who wants to get to where you are now?
uh, I think, you know, I guess the only thing that I can really say is just know that things are going to be okay,
Yeah.
right? Um, it's the strenuous aspect of medicine is it's common knowledge.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, it's very easy to say like, I don't want to do this because my life's too hard or things like that. Um, and when it comes strictly speaking as like a medical student and onward, like, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
um you know life doesn't end here, and your humanity doesn't end here, right? And I think that's something I've always tried to maintain.
Mhm.
And looking back on my younger self, I'm happy that I've always kind of stuck to that.
Yeah.
um because I can wake up and say that I'm like happy. Yeah, like financial debt, you know,
Yeah.
uh knowing I have to be up at like 3 a.m. for a surgery rotation and might get out like 6 p.m. Or if, some really bad days like 11 p.m.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that was rough. But, I can still wake up and be like, I'm happy,
Yeah.
And, I think it's because I always took the time to like make sure like I'm still playing basketball. I'm still writing music. I'm
Mhm.
still going dancing with friends. I'm still, you know, still watching NBA games with friends and like making stupid sports betting where where we could look at each other like, told you that was stupid. Um so yeah, I would just say for anyone out there, that has any doubts about wanting to pursue medicine but also really wants to pursue it, that this is a career for you if this is something that you want to do, and you don't have to lose yourself along the way.
Thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate those words of wisdom. That would have definitely benefited the younger self of me. But we're here. We continue to move, and
Yeah, never ends.
we're figuring it out along the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every every day, one step at a time.
Yep. We're
So
not perfect either, but
yeah, yeah,
we're here for ourselves, we're here for each other, and we're here for everyone watching. So
yeah. So I thank you for coming. This is Casual Conversations with Lawrence, and here we have
Sam from the Bronx.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.